Hi, my name is Wasif, and welcome to the Pumpkin Patch, where we talk about adventures in parenting as well as health and wellness. It's presented by Eye Care Pharmacy, where I'm a pharmacist and an owner. So if you have any questions about the podcast or need help with a prescription, you can feel free to text me at 780-705-8871. We provide free delivery as well as expert advice all throughout Edmonton, Sherwood Park, St. Albert, Beaumont, as well as even Stony Plain. So if you do like the podcast, please give us a 5-star rating and hit subscribe. Thanks so much for dropping by, and I hope you enjoy our little conversation. Thanks. Bye. Hi, my name is Wasif. I'm the owner and pharmacist at Eye Care Pharmacy, and welcome to the Pumpkin Patch Podcast. I'm here joined by Candice. So much thanks for joining me, Candice.
Oh,
Candice is the founder of the Children Disability Support Network, and she's working on other projects too that we'll kind of discuss. But I first wanted to kind of invite Candice to kind of share her personal story about how she kind of started with the Children Disability Support Network, and specifically kind of her story that I hope you're okay with sharing it between you and your daughter, and how that all started for you.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, nice to be here. Thank you for inviting me. Um, I had my daughter, Kalea. This was 2012. Um, so the pregnancy was fine. Everything. I had placenta previa, but that wasn't really an issue. I did have a scheduled C-section due to that. But yeah, the pregnancy was fine. The C-section went fine, and she was born healthy, good weight, everything was great. Took her home, and then yeah, everything was pretty good. She had issues with digestion and stuff like that. But other than that, she was a pretty happy, healthy baby. At 8 weeks old, when she was 8 weeks old, I she was having a nap, and I went to go check on her, and she was completely gray, looked waxy, no heartbeat, um, no pulse. And so, yeah, so that was pretty much the worst day of my life, and kind of a parent's
Sure.
worst fear. So yeah, called 911. My hubby resuscitated, well, was giving her CPR with the help of the operator. My next door neighbor is a nurse, so went and got him. He came over and started doing that. The CPR took over, and yeah, we got to the hospital, and she was okay. I mean, she was alive, but they were holding us for a couple days to see, just to monitor and see kind of what happened, and do some tests. And the next day she started having seizures. So then she was put in the ICU. So we were there for a good a good 4 to 5 weeks. And yeah, the first couple weeks they did not they said we can't promise anything. There's
Yeah.
severe brain damage. She won't breathe on her own. They took the tubes out. It wasn't working. They had to retube her. And then so yeah, that was difficult. And really the only thing I wanted was to take her home. I didn't, whatever was gonna be, but I just wanted my baby.
Yeah.
So the day they said, like, they did the MRIs, they labeled this as a near SIDS. So
Yeah.
there's not a lot of near SIDS. So this was really a miracle because she didn't pass away. And they said you'll need a lot of help raising her, but here she's you can take her home. So this was after about 2 months in the hospital at the Stollery. So yeah, so when I took her home, um, yeah, I was just raising her and kind of seeing how she was developing, and we had a lot of therapy and people coming in. And what I noticed was that there wasn't a lot of things that, well, as she got older, there wasn't a lot of things made for children with disabilities, or that the lack of, like, motor issues or
Yeah.
vision issues. And So it was it was tough, and I realized the lack of support out there that was accessible. There is a lot of support out there, but it's really hard to find. So navigating the system was one thing that I had a really tough time with. Just just I don't know what to look for, because I didn't know what answers I needed to the questions I didn't know, and it was just so I just type in cerebral palsy because they said that that's
Yeah.
something that she would probably have in the future, because she had to be at a certain age to be diagnosed with that. And yeah, so I just was on Google and just trying to find things.
Yeah.
And so that was pretty tough. But with the children's, so do you want to hear more about Kalea, or how kind of the CDS
Uh,
network
like a
started?
little bit more about Kalea there. I was just
Yeah.
wondering, like from what I understand, like something like SIDS is, or near SIDS in her case, it's not really predictable, right? It's just something that just kind of happens, right? Unfortunately.
Yeah, well, I think this is just my opinion.
Yeah.
This is me being, mom, and kind of going through it, and kind of backtracking, and seeing kind of, correlations and stuff. But I think there's always something. There's always a reason, right? It's hard to figure out, because the doctors that are testing, like doing these tests, didn't see her before, and right, so it's nothing that's okay. It was meningitis, or it was this, or a lot of times when it's SIDS, I mean, it's because they roll over, or there's something in the crib, and they suffocate, right? That's not necessarily like the SIDS, because that would be suffocation. But on with my case, I'm almost positive that it was due to the milk that I was giving her, because I was breastfeeding, but I was also topping her off with formula. And when this happened, when she stopped breathing, her diaper was like full of, like, it was like jelly.
Yeah.
It was like clear gelatin, and I was like, "What is this?" Her stomach was always round, right? And we always had a hard time with her, like, pooping and stuff when it was round. But after this, it was like flat. So I'm like, what is going on here? And then after, when we brought her back home, she always had a runny nose, like constantly. Like there was not a day, and it wasn't a cold, it was just a runny nose. So then I was Googling stuff, and I realized that the protein, casein, which is the protein in cow's milk, causes excess mucus when your body's not processing it properly. So then it kind of all made sense, right? I'm like, okay, well, she was her body was so little, and it wasn't processing this milk protein, and she probably just shut down, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then as she's getting older, it's showing out of her nose, and it's showing that mucus. And I stopped giving her dairy, and she's never had a runny nose since.
Oh my gosh. Uh, Dodo, my wife, she was gonna say something.
Mhm.
So when he was first born in the hospital,
Atlas. Yeah.
Atlas. There was a couple times where we woke up, like, so I gave birth to him at 10 a.m. and then that night we were all sleeping in the hospital, and then he started choking, and I was like, what the hell? So I grabbed him, and I called the nurse, and I said, this actually, like, oh yeah, that's fine, it's amniotic fluid.
Mm.
And then it happened again, and then they fixed him up. They're like, oh, you just gotta sleep him on the side. And then when we brought him home, it happened a few more times. And then I took him to my family doctor, and my family doctor was like, no, you have to, because I had a hard time breastfeeding, but that's a whole story. So we would breastfeed and then top off with formula, and then we would lay him down. And then she's like, you're not supposed to lay him down. You're supposed to let him sit for half an hour, like angle him, and then sit him like for half an hour, have him sit up, against you, right? Like just like as if a normal sitting child. And that helped a lot with him not really choking. Like I still do that to
But
this
yeah,
day.
he was choking all the
He was
time.
choking all the time.
It was
And then he was
scary.
like, even like the mucus, like you said, coming out of his nose all the time as well.
Hmm.
Like, It was crazy. So we my doctor's like, no, you have to set him up. When you're feeding him, have him sit up. And then there was that one day when I don't know what I was thinking, but I had him lay down, as I was feeding him, and he was choking, he wasn't breathing properly. We had to call what is that, AHS, the hotline?
811.
811, remember?
Yeah.
And they're like, you guys, did you lay him down while it was? I'm like, yeah. They're like, don't ever do that. And they're like, let him. But he was literally choking, he was wheezing. I was freaking out. It was the scariest thing ever. And then we don't do that anymore.
Wow. Yeah, because he could just be aspirating by it's kind of coming up and then just going right down into his lungs too, right?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Wow.
It terrified me. I was like, oh my God. And then that night, I remember I didn't sleep either. I'm like, that's it. I'm staying up for 24 hours. And I did.
Right.
I didn't fall asleep. I'm like, screw that. I'm not sleeping. I'm like,
Exactly.
I'm not watching this kid. Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Exactly.
when you laid down Kalea for a nap, it must have just been for a small instant, I imagine.
Yeah, it was 11 o'clock or 10 o'clock at night. So, and that was, she was 8 weeks old, right? So they don't have regular sleep cycles. And I was breastfeeding during the night and so it was just, so yeah, and then I just started doing dishes and then instead of I unloaded the dishwasher and then I was going to load it back up with the other dishes. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go check on her. Thank God I did, because if it was another minute, she would not be here. So I think it was a lot of things that made me stop and go check on her. But yeah, that's just my mother instinct that I think is what happened, because there was no aspirate, it wasn't anything that she coughed up and swallowed or choked on. It was her lungs were clear because they did all the tests, right? And but they didn't see what was in her diaper during the ambulance ride, and no one said so they're not looking at the things that I'm seeing and piecing together, and why would it was gelatin, this is not normal, it was 2 diapers full of it was clear jello, right?
Yeah.
And her stomach was flat. So it just, so now, I mean, I think that might be a big thing when it comes to SIDS or, things like that happening, because.
Yeah, because SIDS is kind of like a catch-all, right? It's of a baby can't breathe, it SIDS, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But I mean, I'm sure it's a lot more complicated than just that.
Did they test her for any protein allergies or any kind of autoimmune after that?
Well, I got her tested before I kind of, I got her tested for dairy, but I did not get her tested for the protein, right? So she came back fine for allergies, but then again, I think it's, more of an intolerance, right? So it might not catch the, it being an allergy, a severe allergy, but her body just was not, processing that. And when their bodies are so little, it does something completely different than if we aren't, if we're intolerant to something, we just, get bloated or it's not life threatening, right? But for babies, I mean, that's something that could really cause it.
What about the jelly? What did they have to say about that? The diaper?
Well, that wasn't at the hospital.
Yeah.
Nobody saw that, right? That was after it happened, right. When she was laying there, she released, she, her diaper was full and it was kind of everywhere, and it was just a weird, this is not normal, but I'm not thinking about that at the time.
Yeah,
I'm
that's
just
the last
thinking
thing you're thinking
my
about.
baby.
Yeah.
But then as we were in the ambulance, she pooped again, but it was just gelatin, and I was saying to the ambulance, the paramedics, I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, that baby is, so they're not the doctors, right? I mean, that's not what they're focused on. Their focus is my patient breathing. Are they alive? Not the consistency of their bowel movement, right? And they don't, right? So no one else saw that, right? And then when I didn't even think to bring it up until I made that connection, because I'm waiting for the doctors to tell me what happened. And when it was, well, we can't tell you what happened. We just a near SIDS. I'm like, how can I prevent this from happening again? What if I have other, like, how, what do you mean?
Yeah.
Right? Like it's so.
But at least you know, the positive side of it is they did great work for her at the Stollery, and
Oh, amazing.
we're able to kind of, you know, bring her back basically, right? I know we had a situation where our one of our nephews, he was I think he was diagnosed with a retinoblastoma at 6 months old, and they caught it luckily early on, and then the Stollery was really helpful in terms of expediting it and getting him to sick kids in Toronto, and now he's doing really well too.
Oh,
So
good.
yeah, so he was you know, so a big shout out to the
Stollery's.
Stollery. And
Oh yeah, Stollery's amazing. Yeah.
yeah,
Doesn't
yeah,
get much better. Yeah.
yeah.
If you have a sick child, you're in the right place. If you're
Yeah,
in,
exactly.
yeah.
Thanks again for listening to the Pumpkin Patch Podcast. If you liked what you heard, please feel free to give us a 5-star rating and subscribe. And again, if you have any questions about the podcast, or as well questions about your health or wellness, text me at 780-705-8871. And have a great day, and hopefully we'll chat soon. Thanks. Bye.